Hi, I'm Kim from Same Love Toti. Welcome to our 10th episode in our series Dala Ikusasa. Dala Ikusasa is a Zulu term that means build a future. So today we're going to look at how we can make our future better by having a little bit of strategy in place for job seeking. We all know that to be independent, we need money. And the only way we can get money is to get a job. And it's very difficult. As you know, in South Africa at the moment, the unemployment rate is so high. There's so much competition out there. We got to make sure that we are on top of our game when job seeking. So today we have Shanti Wilson from is it Chaos?
Clarity from Chaos.
Clarity from Chaos. See, I need that. We all need a little bit of clarity from chaos. So Shanti Wilson is going to share with us how to write your own CV, how to put your best self out there. Thank you for joining us, Shanti, and welcome to our series. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do?
Thanks, Kim. Clarity from Chaos was designed to help people find clarity in the chaos in the world of the work. So we do career coaching, we do interview preparation, and we do CV writing, and specifically focused on young and up-and-coming people as well as executives. So a wide range of clients who are in the job market looking to get employed.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm sure that you get a lot of customers coming to you just for advice on this. This is a tricky subject, isn't it?
It is. It's not an easy subject, and I think often we don't get the right information when we're in school, when we're at university, and the ways our parents looked for jobs have changed today from what they did when they were young. So we need to look at things differently. We need to do things differently.
Right. And what type of things would we do differently today?
So the first thing is you can't assume that when you get a job, you got that job for life. Employment for life is no more a reality. I think of my dad. He did his first job. 25 years later, he retired from that job. Today's youth generally spend between 3 and 5 years in a job. And in many instances, that job can change and your career can change. They even say your career changes a few times within the 20-year span of your career. So, for example, my eldest daughter started out as a chef and now she's teaching English. And that's quite normal in today's job environment.
Right. And so then when it comes to CV writing, for example, with your daughter, how would her CV look? Would she just put like everything she's ever done on her CV?
No, I think it's really important is that many of the CVs I receive, because I get a lot of CVs to review, the people have regurgitated absolutely everything they've done back to 19 something something. And it's 10, 15 pages. Nobody's going to read that. When you're writing a CV, it's really important, first of all, to understand the job you're applying for and what they want. So your CV needs to speak to the requirements of the job. Secondly, it needs to be concise, it needs to be short, and don't go back further than about 10 years. So you'll have all your jobs going back, but the detail is only on the last 10 years. And the reason for that is that many organizations use AI to screen CVs, so it'll go through an algorithm. And if it doesn't pick up the right keywords, if it doesn't pick up the right information, you automatically get rejected.
Oh, wow.
It's really important when you apply for jobs to answer the questions that are asked and put the information in that's most pertinent to that particular job.
And how would you know what those particular words are that algorithm is looking for?
So all jobs have what we would call job descriptions in terms of what are the typical job description. In the advert, they will have the skills, the competencies they're looking for, the qualifications. Where possible, make sure you tailor your CV to use their words. So, for example, some people refer to people management, some refer to talent management, some refer to performance management. They all mean the same thing, but read that job advert and use the term that that company uses. That way you'll flag the right flags.
Okay, that's great. And now with the LGBT community, just in everyday life, the LGBT community face discrimination from time to time. So going into a job interview or even submitting a CV can be really scary because they would never know if they're going to get discriminated against. So how can they mitigate that kind of bad sort of backlash that they might get? What would they do?
So I think that's a very good question, because what we're trying to do is you need to make sure before you even put your CV in that it's an organization you want to work for. And the reality is if an organization is going to discriminate against your life choices, you then potentially don't want to work there. So rather, exactly, you'll be unhappy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to apply for a job that's going to discriminate against me because of my life choices. So it's really important that as the job seeker, you do your research. Most jobs come from people you know, or people who know people who know people you know. It comes from your network and your community. And the reality is you can go and find out more about those companies just by trying to find out who works there, who knows someone who works there, and speaking to people. The more information you can find out about a company, the more prepared you can be. And also the better you are able to respond and decide, is this really the organization I want to work for? Right. I remember a few years back, I was working independently in a consulting firm and I was invited to a big corporate for an interview. I walked into the organization, I took one look around me and I knew I couldn't work there. There was just a feeling. And that's the culture of an organization. And every organization has its own culture and its own environment. I have an organization where I work now, which is a very inclusive culture. In fact, my current manager is of the LGBTI community, and there is no discrimination. Some people know, some people don't know. It's just a life choice. It's how it happens. So the reality is that you need to do your homework, regardless of if you're LGBTI, into what that organization is about. What is it about that organization that appeals to me, and is it a place where I feel I can fit, regardless of my life choices?
Right. And so I would guess that that type of information would be made available on the website. Maybe you would be able to see what their social responsibility is for the company, and if they are sort of community driven and wanting to reach out to people.
I think depending on the size of the organization, you'll find that information readily available. So if it's a big corporate, Vodacom, you can go onto the Vodacom website, you can research how they work, you can research what are their policies, you can research all of that on the internet. But for example, if you're going to a small mom and pop shop down the road, you won't know that information. There you can potentially look at the social media in terms of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can go look on LinkedIn and see who else is working there. You can find out through your own personal networks and go research and Google. But the reality is different organizations will have different information in the public domain. And that's why I keep going back to people. Because at the end of the day, it's the people who work there that are going to tell you the real story.
Yes.
They're going to tell you what's going on in that organization, if they're happy, if they're smiling. I remember when I first moved to Durban, I had two options. I could go work for Unilever or I could go work for Volkswagen. And I already was on the verge of signing the Volkswagen paperwork when I came up here and I realized that Unilever was a choice for me because everyone at the Volkswagen interview was unhappy. Whereas at Unilever, they were excited, they were inclusive, they made me feel welcome, and it's just based on that feeling. And that's what you're wanting, is you're wanting to make sure it's a place where you're going to feel comfortable, where the people seem happy, where people seem engaged. And that, to be honest, is not about whether I'm LGBTQI or heterosexual. That is just about a feeling and a sense of belonging. Right. And that's what you're looking for.
Yes, because I would assume that, you want to be valued and you want your work to be valued. So it is very important to know what company you are applying to for a job.
100%.
So once we've got our CV now accepted, we've focused our CV in to talk just about the things that that company wants. We've used the words that they use in their advert. Now they've said, yes, come in for an interview. What's our next step?
Okay, so it's really important before the interview to actually prepare yourself, because obviously you're going to have many questions asked, questions about what you've done in the past, questions about difficult conversations, questions about teamwork, and generally your interview questions are very similar. So it's really helpful if you can sit and think about some examples of where you've done well, and actually structure and practice those answers a little bit like we did today, to make sure that when the question comes at you, you've got a pre-thought out answer. It doesn't mean to say you're going to repeat and read your answer to the person doing the interview, but you've thought through, because there's nothing worse than you do an interview, they ask you a question and you go, I'm not sure what to do. You want to have that answer readily available. And a nice methodology that I use with my clients in terms of interview prep is the STAR model. And the STAR model is a really simple way of doing that, because it's got 3 steps. Step 1, the situation. Explain the context, the situation of what happened. Step 2, the actions. What are the actions I took in that situation? Because at the end of the day, the interview is about me. And step 3 is, what are the results? How did I come out at the end? Did I achieve my goal? Did I succeed? And that part's really important, because as someone who's done many interviews, I've had people go through and tell me the whole story. And I got called out on night shift, and I tried to help them on the phone, and I tried to work through the problem, and nothing was working. And I'm waiting for the guy to tell me he jumped in the car and went to go fix the problem himself. And he goes, and I couldn't solve it, so I went back to bed. I'm like, okay, you're not the person I want. So you really are wanting to be able to share what you have achieved as a person. It's not about what I should have done or what I would have done. It's about, what have I done? What are examples? And when it comes to that, especially if you're a first-time job seeker, it's important not just to think of work examples, because life gives you many opportunities. Life helps you to solve problems. So it might be an example, for example, something you've done within an organization that you volunteer for. It might be something in terms of parenting your children. It might be something that you do at your local church or community center. But you need to think of practical examples, specifically around things like leadership, teamwork, solving problems, because those types of questions are always going to come up.
Right. Okay. And how would you sort of impress the interviewer once we've got our story all straight? How do you impress the interviewer with maybe, what you're wearing, or how do you look? How do you decide what you're going to wear, how to present yourself?
That's a good question, especially in today's age, because a lot of us, when we're at home, I know myself, I wear my shorts and I wear my Zoom shirt because my clients can't see the bottom half. But now you're going into an interview, you've got to dress appropriately. So it does mean that you need to dress smart, but you also need to be appropriate to the environment. So for example, if you're going for a factory interview with an engineering team, you're not going to wear your shorter skirts and your high heels. You're going to wear long pants and you're going to wear practical shoes. If you're going into an office environment, you want to dress smart for that office environment. It's also important to look at the company culture, because you always want to be sort of one level smarter than the person interviewing you. Just one step up. Reason being is that way you can show you're making an effort. If they all come to work in jeans and t-shirts, wear slacks and a smart top. If they wear slacks and a smart top, it might be the time to wear your heels and a skirt. But you want to show that you're making an effort, that you're trying. But it does need to be appropriate. I mean, I've had young ladies arrive for a factory interview in a miniskirt and high heels. Not practical. Not going to work.
Yeah.
And you need to be thinking about stuff like that. The other thing to be conscious of is obviously you talk about judgment and people having preconceived ideas. I mean, in this age, tattoos, piercings, all that kind of stuff, be careful with that. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but if you're going for a job interview, it might be helpful just to cover up the tattoos and maybe wear a long sleeve shirt until you've sussed out the organization. If you've got lots and lots of piercings, take a few out, because not everybody is appreciative of that. But by the same token, if they're not going to be appreciative of that, it might not be the organization for you. So you need to think about these things when you're going in for an interview.
Well, that's really helpful. And what other tips would you have?
I think it's important also to think about your questions that you're going to ask the interviewee.
Oh, do you ask them questions as well?
Yeah. So when you're going into an interview, it's a two-part conversation. The first part is they want to find out as much as they can about you, but you also want to learn as much as you can about the organization. And those questions you ask need to be questions that indicate that you are interested. They need to indicate that you want to learn more about the organization, but you also don't want to sound needy and desperate. So you're not going to be asking, okay, so when can I start? Or how much money am I going to earn in the first interview? Those are probably,
or how much holidays am I going to have?
How much leave can I take? A very good one. I think it's more important that you ask questions like, what opportunities will there be for me to grow? Where do you see me fitting in as the organization grows? What do you want me to deliver in the first 90 days? What are the expectations when I first arrive? These things help me learn about the organization, but they also indicate that I'm interested in the organization. So I learn and I'm giving back in terms of trying to show an interest in the organization. But it's important to think about those questions before you go in.
And also what might be a helpful thing is to ask if there's any training given when you arrive, any maybe studying that you're going to need to do further on down the line to make you more efficient in your work space.
Good questions. Those are really good questions. And I think it's important that you think those through prior to going to the interview, so you've got your mind prepped. It doesn't mean to say you're going to ask all of them, but it just gives you that pre-planning and pre-thought so that you're not caught when they say to you, do you have any questions? And you go, again. You really want to be prepared for these interviews. You want to be prepared for the job process, because at the end of the day, as a job seeker, you've got to stand out. Okay. I think what's important is to remember the average job in South Africa, you're talking 900 people applying. Now, when I got to go through 900 CVs, if something's not right or something's missing or something's not there, it automatically goes on my reject pile.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm not going to sit and chase people who haven't taken the time and effort to give me the information I've asked for.
Okay. So you basically would then have two piles, one of CVs that have everything you ask for, and one that have got maybe this missing or that missing, and they just automatically get tossed. And what about things like spelling and grammar? And
those are so important.
Yeah, we're not all so great at that, though.
Well, we've got fantastic tools on the internet. There's software like Grammarly. Use it. If you look at the new MS Office suite, it's got grammar and spell check in it. Make sure, get someone else to read your CV first. Get someone with a second pair of eyes to have a look at it and check if you haven't made a mistake. Because, I mean, a good one, manage, is often misspelled as mange. Now, spell check won't pick that up. So we need to make sure that we are reading our CV and give it to someone else to give you a second opinion and notice where there's probably little errors. Yeah. But you can also use software for that. Right. And the reality is people who put spelling mistakes, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit difficult, but yeah, they go onto that pile.
Onto the reject pile.
The reject pile, unless they really stand out.
Yeah.
And again, remember, a lot of them are screened by artificial intelligence. There's software people use to screen their CVs. A good example, again, is my eldest daughter. When she wanted to apply for a job in Dubai, She started when she was in the US, and she was putting all the submissions through, and she was doing it. She kept saying to me, Mom, I'm not getting accepted. I'm not getting accepted. Then she came home to South Africa, and I sat with her the one day to do one. But what was happening is it's an automatic form where you load your CV, you load this, you load that, you have to put your certificates in. And because she didn't have all the documents, she was just putting the ones she had and hitting submit. So it never got accepted. It just got straight away rejected. The first one we did together, putting every little item in, she got the job.
Oh, wonderful.
So it really is important that you give them the information they ask for.
Right, right.
The other thing, and this is really, really important for your people, is that don't give up. Jobs are hard to come by. Jobs are not easy. The reality is, while you're doing this job search process, you are going to be doing interviews 2, 3, 4 times a week, and you're going to do it for months. And then you're going to hit gold. But you have to be consistent, you can't give up, and you have to persevere. And I've seen this over and over again with my daughter. She started October last year looking for her next job. October, November, December. I think just before we went away in December, she got it confirmed. For 3 months, interviews 3, 4, 5 times a week. Wow. Sending her CV off twice, 3 times at a month. Because remember, for every CV you send out, it's only sort of every 10 CVs that you might get an interview for. That's how hard it is out there. And I think that's a really important thing, is don't get despondent, don't give up. It's not you. Keep trying.
It's just the volume of people. So I would assume that if you're putting out 10 CVs, you know, I don't know, a day, a week.
As many as you can find with the right job for you.
Yeah, yeah.
But even better is if you can network within your own community, because that'll get you there faster. So if someone knows someone who knows looking for someone, often that's a faster route to finding employment.
Right, right.
I'm trying to think, all the jobs I've got have come via people I knew, except my first one.
Okay.
And I think many people will find the same.
Right. So, well, thank you for all of that wealth of information. Are there any final tips that you would like to share?
I think just the last one, which is to reiterate, don't give up. Keep going. Persevere. It's hard work, but it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Shanti. I appreciate you being here.
Absolute pleasure.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. If you want, you can put any comments you have down in the comment section. Please like, share, subscribe. We want to be here for you. We want to engage with you. We want you guys to be part of Same Love Toti. So have a great day, and we'll see you soon.